Good afternoon. I'm Ryan Balfant, and I'm currently a student at Texas A&M Corpus Christi. My dream job is to become a pilot and work in the aviation industry, and this is the topic I plan on choosing, so I chose Flight 1549, Miracle on the Hudson. To begin, I want to start off by reading a quote by Captain Sullenberger. Every day we wake up, we have an opportunity to do some good, but there's so much bad that you have to navigate to get to the good. And unfortunately, on January 15, 2009, Captain Chelsea Sullenberger had to navigate through some bad to get to the good. So today, I'll be informing you about Flight 1549, Miracle on the Hudson. I will talk about the background of the pilots, the incident of Flight 1549, and the impact it has had on the aviation industry. Background on the pilots. The captain of Flight 1549 was Captain Chelsea Sullenberger. He was born in Denison, Texas, which is north of Dallas. He started his flying career as a teenager. After flying as a teenager, he served in the U.S. Air Force as a cadet and fighter pilot. And when switching over to the commercial, he began flying with Pacific Southwest Airlines, which is now U.S. Airways. His first officer, co-pilot for Flight 1549, was Jeffrey Skiles. He's from Oregon, Wisconsin, and he grew up in the aviation industry because both of his parents were pilots. He served for 26 years with U.S. Airways prior to Flight 1549. And on this day, he's usually a flight engineer, and on this day, he was flying as the co-pilot. Flight 1549. Flight 1549 was carrying about 150 passengers plus 5 crew members. They were departing from LaGuardia Airport in New York, and their destination was Charlotte, North Carolina. So what happened? Why is this such a major incident? Well, after taking off from LaGuardia Airport, Flight 1549 was climbing to an altitude of 3,000 feet. And while climbing to 3,000 feet, they encountered a bird strike. A bird strike of Canadian geese flying into both engines, causing both engines to lose thrust and power, basically making the plane into a glider. And once they realized they had lost power, they realized that they either had to turn back to LaGuardia or they had to continue and find another airport. While trying to find the other airports, they were going through their protocols, trying to regain the power in the engines, but they were unsuccessful. As they were continuing to explore the airports, they realized they were at such a low altitude that no other airplane has lost power, so they knew at this point LaGuardia was out of the question. They asked air traffic controllers about other airports such as Newark and Teterboro across the Hudson. They then encountered the same problem, their altitude. They didn't have enough altitude to make it to either one, and at this point Captain Chelsea Sullenberger made the decision the Hudson was the best option. So after landing it in the Hudson, luckily all 155 passengers, including the crew members, survived. There were some minor injuries, but there was no deaths. And so the impact that it has had on the aviation industry was that during the investigation, the National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, called it as a water ditching. Captain Chelsea Sullenberger argued that it was a water landing, not a ditching, because he felt both engines go. He knew that the engines did not have any power or thrust. But the NTSB continued to argue that the left engine was an idle and that it could have had regained power. But unfortunately, throughout the investigation, Captain Chelsea Sullenberger proved them wrong, and they saw that the left engine did not have any power. So Flight 1549 also raised awareness to bird strikes. It raised bird strikes because at this point, they knew that if we had another accident, we did not know who or how bad or how devastating this would be. Luckily, no one was injured, but if we had another bird strike, would there be deaths? So the National Transportation Board warned all airports to find a way to get rid of the animals and critters such as birds. And the way they did this was they started to invent radars to track birds, and airplane manufacturers decided to put screens on their engines, and also They also invented a loud gun to make a loud bang to scare the birds away. And according to the Federal Aviation Administration, in 2014 and 15, bird strikes rose to an all-time high to about 14,000. And a very similar incident happened to our own Vice President, or former Vice President, Joe Biden. On Air Force Two, they encountered a bird strike. To recap, today I told you about Flight 1549, Miracle on the Hudson. I talked about the background of the pilots, the incident of Flight 1549, and the impact it has on aviation and the safety for planes. And to conclude, I would like to say another quote by Captain Chelsea Sullenberger. There's simply no substitute for experience in terms of aviation safety. And on this day in history, Captain Chelsea Sullenberger had to use all his experience from his teenage years, fighter pilot and commercial, to save the lives of many and land the plane safely. And I hope one day, since I want to be a pilot, I get to use all my experience and have enough experience as Captain Chelsea Sullenberger and be as good as a pilot and safe as a pilot and be just like him, because he is my role model now after this incident. Thank you for listening.